everyone, it's Holly and I'm here to talk about my most recent trip to Disney World, which was in July of 2021, and this is my first trip to Disney / Florida in summer. I did in fact buy these ears, so I thought since I went in July it made sense. I think my cat's awake. So I wanted to make this video because I was so scared to go on this trip. This was kind of an impulsive trip. It was a father-daughter trip with me and my dad. My stepmom was going to Florida to see family, and so my dad suggested that we go to Disney together. We have annual passes, so we ended up doing it. And like growing up, I had always said I'm never going to Disney in the summer. I'm never going to Florida in the summer. It's too hot. To put things into perspective, I live in Western New York. I can barely handle New York summers. I went to Nova Scotia in July a few years ago, and that was perfect summer for me. It was perfect summer weather. Like, I don't think it went above like 72. It was wonderful. So I definitely do not like being hot. Also, I'm a bigger person, you know, and I have struggled on my last couple of vacations. Definitely I need to walk more at home, and I plan to do that before my next trip, because it's definitely been something I've started noticing, that I'm struggling to catch my breath sometimes, things like that. And definitely in the summer it can be even harder. Now fortunately, when we went, the mask restrictions had been lifted everywhere except on transportation. So they had reinstated inside masks shortly after we left. I think that could have made it more challenging, but if we had to wear a mask all the time, but generally, I mean, I wore a mask in January, wore one in November. You adapt. Like, that's my personal opinion, but that's not what this video is about. But I did want to say, since it is 2021. So yes, I was scared. I didn't know how I was going to handle it. I don't like the heat. I don't even like walking to my car every morning in the summer to go to work. So I wasn't sure. But sometimes when I'm in Florida and when I'm in Disney, I like don't care if I'm uncomfortable, because I'm just so happy to be there. So I don't know. But I think I was also kind of like hyping myself up to this being like so miserable that my expectations were so low. So maybe that's what you should do, because honestly it wasn't that bad. And I was trying to do some looking around for information, and I found like a couple YouTube videos, but there wasn't a lot of information. And I think it is hard because everybody is different. I did buy a fan, which I barely used. The one time I would have wanted it, we were waiting for Happily Ever After for a couple hours, and I was not feeling good on that day. I had one really bad day, which we'll get there. And so we were just sitting out in the sun. That's like the one time I kind of wish I had brought the fan with me, because at that point I had done a couple days and I was like, nah, it's just like a waste to have it in my bag. So yeah, so that had been recommended. Water, obviously, which I would always recommend. And I have had like a chafing issue in the past. First time I ever chafed was in Disney World in 2013. Villains for the like limited time magic. I went down in September and it was awful. It was so hot, and I did get chafing. I was much smaller then, but still. So now I like live in fear. So I actually wear bike shorts underneath, and if I wear a skirt or a dress in my everyday life, like to work and everything. So I did bring those. I also did check out and bought the Jockey slip shorts. They have a lightweight version especially, which these are recommended by Molly from allears.net, and you can get them at Target. And I 100% support her recommendation. I recommend them to everybody now. Like if I'm on like in my Facebook groups, if people ask, 100%. Now I don't have a problem with the bike shorts, even if they feel a little heavier. I've never felt like they were too heavy and like made me overheat or anything. I like my shorts to not like ride up, so a little tight. That's why I like a bike short. And the slip shorts are the same thing. I never had them ride up on me. or anything. They breathed very well. I felt comfortable because I did make the choice to wear skirts this whole trip. Let's talk in general about things I did to prepare. I brought that fan, which didn't really work out that well. I brought tons of sunscreen, which I would always recommend, but definitely in the summer, it's just gonna be more sun exposure, so be careful. I brought a water bottle. I brought one that is supposed to like, it's like a Yeti or whatever, that is supposed to stay cold for a very long time. The one I brought was 16 ounces, which I liked because it was smaller, so it fit in my Loungefly very easily, but I did feel like having a 24 ounce, which I do own, I just didn't bring with me, would have been better. And my dad brought a 24 ounce one, and so I just had to fill my water bottle up a lot more often. And sometimes I wanted more water, especially if I had a lot of ice in my water bottle, so like there wasn't a ton of water there. Like I said, I was gonna do skirts, so I brought mainly skirts. I brought a couple of leggings in case I felt I needed a change. And I brought tank tops mainly as my shirt, which I don't wear a ton of tank tops in my regular life or in Disney World. Yes, I like don't do it mainly because I don't like my arms, but if this trip taught me nothing, it's that nobody cares. And so I'm like a tank top person now. And then, yes, so some things I learned from things that I brought with me. So cotton is better. So even though I think the slip shorts are like totally synthetic, I'm sure, I had a couple of skirts from Walmart that are like denim, but they definitely have polyester in them. And then I had a Disney denim skirt, which is just 100% denim. And I ended up switching to just wearing that one almost every day because I felt it breathed a lot better than the other ones I had. So that is something I would definitely recommend. I'm also a big fan in general of wearing activewear to the parks. It's not necessarily as cute sometimes, but activewear is designed to be worn while you're sweating and moving, and so I think it's a good thing to use. So a lot of times if it's going to be a little chillier, I'll normally wear like a workout legging or a workout capri. Another thing I learned was to put ice in my water bottles at night, so I would do it in the room and then take it with me. Also, when I would get like free cups of water before we would leave like the quick service, I would fill it up with ice and water and then put that in my water bottle. We got like an iced tea drink at a Joffrey's cart, and I put my ice and like the lemon wedge. That lemon wedge held up all day, I'll tell you that, into my water bottle just to try and make sure I had, because sometimes, you know, cold water just like, I'm not somebody who needs cold water, but especially when it's hot like that, it feels better. And if you have a water bottle that's not gonna like sweat or is going to keep things cold like the ones that I had, just putting ice in there the day before and then putting some water in it, it'll usually stick around for a long time and keep your water nice and cold. Another thing was that like I said, I had one really bad day. I think it was like our second full day or something. And it was really bad. I don't remember where we were, and then we decided we were gonna do a couple of like DVC room tours and then maybe go get dinner at the Grand Floridian Cafe as like a walk up, and then try to do happily ever after. And we took the monorail to the TTC because you can't take it to the Polynesian. You might be able to now, I can't remember if it's open or not. And then we were gonna walk from the TTC to the Polynesian lobby and then walk from there to the Grand Floridian. And so while we were walking from the TTC to, I think we weren't even gonna stop at the Polynesian, I don't remember. But as we were making our way, I kept having to stop on the walkway. And we stayed at the Polynesian a few years ago for my birthday, and our room was very close to the TTC. So this isn't a walk I'm unfamiliar with or my body's unfamiliar with, but it was excruciating. I felt very confused. I never felt like I was gonna faint, like as somebody who has fainted in the past. which is usually, like, all the times I've fainted in the past have really been like blood pressure related. And it didn't feel like blood sugar either. Like, I don't really have an issue with my blood sugar, but you know how, like, if you're very hungry, you get kind of like that feeling. I don't know like how diabetics feel, obviously, but just like a normal, you know, person. But I have had heat stroke before. And I think I was very close to having heat stroke. But yeah, it didn't feel like how I normally feel when I'm gonna faint. But I definitely felt like something was wrong with me. I did not feel okay at all, but I also didn't want to be outside. So like, I couldn't, like, I wanted to stop, but I couldn't stop because I didn't want to just stand outside in the sun. So we ultimately got to the Polynesian lobby, and I think we were there for like 30 or 45 minutes. I drank a bunch of water, rested in the air conditioning. I texted my mom and I was like, it's hot. And she was like, yeah, you're in Florida in July. And I was like, I know. Now, I don't think my mom was being mean. I also wasn't really telling her how bad I felt because I didn't want to worry her. But it was really rough. So we did that and stayed there for like 30 to 45 minutes. My dad was like, do you want to just go back to the hotel? Like, we don't have to do any of this other stuff. And I was like, no, I really want to do Happily Ever After. I want to make sure we see it because it's going away. And there was another opportunity, but that one would have been harder for us to get to. So I was like, no, I really want to do it. And I started feeling a little bit better. So we headed over to Grand Floridian, which I started to feel not quite great again, but it wasn't as bad. We toured the Grand Floridian villas and then walked from there to the Grand Floridian, like, proper. And I can't remember if we walked up or did a reservation at Grand Floridian Cafe, but either way, we got in really fast. And then honestly, that was probably, my dad was still like, maybe we should go back to the hotel. And I was like, let's just eat and see like how I feel after I eat. Like, me sitting, getting food in my, even though I didn't feel like I was hungry, like I needed food or something, you never know. And let me drink. So I drank, cat hair in my mouth. I drank water, watermelon lemonade, so good. I got food, great meal, highly recommend. I got the fried chicken. I don't even like fried chicken really, and I loved it. And the meal really helped. I never was like 100% the rest of that night. We did ultimately end up being able to go to the park and see Happily Ever After. I was like, we literally went to the Magic Kingdom and sat in front of the castle and waited like an hour and a half for Happily Ever After to start. I think resting in the AC was very helpful, and a lot of times like the AC, you know how sometimes you can feel it, like I didn't feel like I was cooling down really. Like, I still felt hot, but I felt a little bit better. The water helped, and honestly I was probably sweating so much I thought I was consuming enough water, and maybe I was, but I think I wasn't necessarily replenishing a lot of my other electrolytes, and so that's what contributed to my problem. So I think that night we stopped at the gift shop at our hotel. I bought one of those cooling towels, which I actually never used because after this night I never felt like I needed that again. But I also bought a Powerade, and from then on I had one Powerade every single day. And I think that really helped me. I tried to drink even more water, even though I felt like I was drinking enough. Like, I was going to the bathroom, but I was sweating more than I've like ever sweat in my life. So I would recommend like Powerade, Gatorade. Powerade's just what they serve there, at least once a day. Make sure you're taking breaks, drink water, like don't push yourself too far. Other tips, maybe a hat. I did not bring any hats because, well, I think I did bring a hat, but I never wore one because I'm an ear person, but definitely recommend them for sun protection. For sure. The pool, we didn't really go to the pool, but I think it's a great thing to use to cool yourself down. Also, big fan of a late night, especially a lot of times traditionally in the summer the parks stay open later, And so you can always like go back to your room during the heat of the day and then go out when the sun is down. It's still gonna be hot, but it'll be a little bit better and you won't have the sun beating down on you. Also, you're probably gonna sweat a lot. I remember just like we were at Epcot and we would get food and we'd just be standing there and I would just have pools of sweat just like pouring off of me, which sounds disgusting. It is disgusting. I've never sweat like that in my life. And like, I grew up dancing in a non-air conditioned dance studio on like the second floor of an obnoxiously old building with poor like ventilation, and I would like dance for 3 hours straight and I never sweat like in this way in my life. But yeah, just try to think about what your body's gonna need. Be prepared. Don't be afraid to take rests. Make sure you're drinking water. Make sure you're eating a relatively healthy diet, like, or food. Like, I think it's even more important if you're pushing yourself maybe more than you're used to make sure at least try to get some of those like micronutrients and electrolytes into your body, because your body needs that and you're probably sweating and your body's probably working through a lot of stuff. Make sure you're resting. All of those things I think are very important. And honestly, other than that one day, I really enjoyed this trip. It was not that bad. It was hot for sure, but I would gladly go again. And I think I will go to Disney again during the summer. And yeah, I hope that some of my like experiences can maybe help you. If you have any tips for other people, leave them down below. If you're from like the South or a hot area and you have tips for people, leave them as well. Maybe like clothing tips, like how to dress or different things like that, because you just have more experience with heat than someone like I do. That might be helpful as well. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.